All right, so we are going to take a look and dive into the computer science part of geometry with computer science. Why it's important, why to do it, and really how it's going to help. So the first thing when we talk about computer science is you really have to start thinking about, like, what is it, or what are we doing with it? And honestly, all programming is being able to communicate with a computer, giving it a list of directions, a simple recipe. So as we take a look at this, we have think like a computer here. Programming or coding simply means telling a computer what to do. To write a program, you need to think like a computer, which means breaking down a task into a series of simple steps. Here's how it works. A simple recipe. Imagine you want a friend to bake a cake, but your friend has no idea how to cook. You can't simply give it instructions like, make a cake. Your friend won't know what to do or where to start. Instead, you need to write a recipe with simple steps like break an egg, add the sugar, and so on. Programming a computer is a bit like writing a recipe. So, if we take a look at this picture that we have here, think about the steps. Think about what you would need to get started to write this. And how would we do it? So, let's make a list. Go ahead. Try and make a list of the steps that you would use in order to make that picture. So first, let's start with what would we need. What would be our ingredient list? What are we going to put in this picture? And it's actually only going to be one thing, right? What are all of those things that we need? We need circles. And let's just make this easy, and let's say we need 10 circles. All right, so now what are the directions? What would these things be doing, right? So pause the video and see if you can make a list of directions that would be happening to these circles. Think about all the changes that are going into each one of them, and what would you do with it? All right, great. So some of those changes that you should make would be to move the circles. And hopefully you're just a little bit more specific than this. But we'd also want to change color. And change its size. So as we go through more of this, think about those things. How would you tell the computer to create this picture? How would you tell the computer to move the circles, to add another circle, to change its color, to change its size, anything like that? So to communicate with a computer, you need a coding language. In this class, we're going to be using Scratch. Some of you, I'm sure, used it in middle school. But we're going to be using that coding language to communicate with the computer, to give it the list of instructions so that it knows exactly what to do. And one of the reasons that this is so important, that's excellent that you guys are getting some computer science in your geometry course, is because computer science and coding and programming are in every single thing that happens in life nowadays. You can notice computer science in art. You can do it in music and use it in music for sound programs. Building games, special effects that happen in movies or anything that we do, it's all coding and it's all part of computer science. So just getting kind of a brief synopsis of what it is going to help you no matter what you plan on doing in life. So a little bit how Scratch works. The objects that we use in Scratch are called sprites. So these could be anything. It could be a person in this case. It could be a ball. It could be whatever you wanted to make it. But it's an object that's going to do something. So sprites can move around. Sprites can play sounds and music. Sprites can speak, talk on the screen, and do kind of whatever you would need to with that. If we look at this block of code here, that block of code is going to be the instructions that we give to the computer so that the sprite knows what to do. So for example, we always start our program with when the flag's clicked. If we told it to switch to costume vampire, we would have a nice vampire costume like that. Then we're going to pause for 1 second, switch costume to open cloak, which would then switch it to this open cloak vampire. Once again, wait a second, and then eventually switch costume to Bat and turn into that. So our sprite can change its costumes with that block of code. And if you look right here with these creating code blocks text, these blocks of code are going to lock together and come together to create the directions for the computer so that they do exactly what you want them to do. It's going to be very important to look at like how they connect, to look at the openings that are inside the blocks. See, we have a circle here, because we're going to be inserting them based on our instructions. Okay, if we look at kind of an overview of the Scratch scene, I kind of already mentioned this. The green flag is always going to start the project, and the red octagon or the stop sign is going to stop the project. Okay, and then we have our code blocks that are going to give those instructions. Notice this forever here means that it's going to do this the entire time the program's running. So there's going to be lots of times that we want to put some instructions inside the forever block. Here's a little question down here. Right, Scratch is designed to be easily understood. The actions performed on each block are written on it, so you can usually figure out what the code is doing just fine by reading through. So for example, this go to mouse pointer, what do you think that's going to do? Pause the video, think about it, and go ahead and come back. Yeah, whatever your sprite is, whatever the object, is going to go to wherever the mouse is pointed. So let's say this right here is your sprite, and you move the mouse over here, she would move over to that spot wherever your mouse was. And this is what the whole Scratch interface looks like. You can see right here is kind of the brief diagram. In this blue section we have our blocks palette, all of the blocks that we need. Next to it is the code area where we're going to code. Then we've got the stage area where we're going to see our project and see our code. We have the sprites list, which is going to give us the list of sprites and kind of some information about it. As well as we have the stage list then right over here, right next to it, where we can have different types of backdrops if we wanted to. And then also the backpack down here. I'll just let you all pause the screen a little bit, take a look at the slide, look at all these kind of directions about where things are. And when you're ready, go ahead and resume the video. Alright, so I just wanted to come right back to this last one. So once again, now that you kind of know a little bit about Scratch, what it does, how it works, and just kind of that brief overview, think to yourselves, how would I create this picture right here? How would I create 10 circles, all of different locations, different color, and different size, into my picture in my window? And as you think about that, it's time to actually get you guys coding and get going on that. So, good luck.